So the game is 1500, 3 players in the game. I'm on the button, so I'm looking at the bottom hand. So we got Oshpiel 888 in the game, Russian reg, who I think is pretty good. And we got borntotilt, who is a Belarusian superstar, who is also pretty good. And, well, as I said, me. All right, so let's see the hand. So I'm 118 big blinds deep effective with borntotilt. So I raised to 25, pretty small. borntotilt 3-bet, so 1175, pretty large 3-bet. That's a show 4 style 3-bet. I just had a call. So 10s is kind of close, right? Like your hand is a bit too strong to call, but a little bit too weak to 4-bet call off. And 4-bet folding also feels pretty disgusting. So I think calling is the best play, but it's very close. So, and this was very late in the session, by the way. This was with like an hour to go. So the flop is 10-7-6, bingo. I mean, 9-8 suited is in his range. Maybe he's past 3-bets 9-8 offsuit, but probably not. So yeah, I'm behind against max 4 combos realistically. So, you know, I'm gonna go broke here one way or another, unless the board runner is just awful. So he checks, which is fine on a board like this, right? I mean, I'm gonna have all the sets. I'm gonna have 2-pair. I'm gonna have a straight. I'm gonna have, you know, some nice hands like 7-8. So he's got to be a bit careful here. So I decide to check behind with my top set. So here, the idea is that I don't just want to check back with like 6-5 or like pocket 3s or ace queen. I want to have some good hands to check behind as well. And, you know, I don't want him to, let's say, like overbet a lot of turns and then I'm just in an ugly spot. So for instance, here on this deuce, if he just pots the turn, I mean, it's just hard for me to respond, right? Because the only hand that really improves here is deuces or like, you know, a big flush draw. So he checks again on the deuce, and now I think it's just time to get value with the top set. Betting small, trying to get thin value from hands like ace king, ace queen, you know, maybe like a 7 or 6 or pocket 8s or, you know, some kind of weird flush draw. So I bet small, which I like. He check raises quite big. So here, I mean, this is the exact point, like why you should sometimes slow playing like 10s, because otherwise he check raises you, and unless you have exactly deuces, you're just in trouble, right? If you have like ace queen of hearts, sure, you can continue, but you know, he can just check raise and get us off any hand, or we have to like call down with a lot of really bad hands. So, you know, I'm happy I checked back. I call. I think the board is dry enough that we don't need to shove, especially a hand like this. It's even possible that he check raises a hand like ace 10 here on the turn or king 10, and I block a hand like that. So I just call. The turn is the queen of hearts, which is obviously not a good card. I think a hand like pocket queens makes sense for him sometimes, and obviously he could still have a flush. You know, he can check raise something like ace jack of hearts on the turn, or ace 9 of hearts, or like, you know, 6-5 of hearts or something like that. Maybe like a random like 5-4 of hearts. So, I mean, I definitely lose here sometimes, but if he ships, I'm still not folding, right? Because he can still maybe have some kind of weird, he can have some weird bluffs here. He can maybe have a worse hand for value. And if I fold this hand, I'm just folding way too much. And borntotilt is a pretty good player, so, you know, I'm not going to go crazy with like really big nitty folds. So he decides to bet, kind of a funny sizing. He bets like 5.6k, and he has like 7,300 behind. Had he shoved, I mean, again, I obviously would have called. I think once he bets this sizing, I think I just want to call. Yeah, I think I just want to call. I think if he has something like aces plus heart, I mean, he may even fold the river. So, but he's still calling with his 9-8s and his flushes and whatever, pocket queens. So I decided to call. And he has a pretty strange hand. He has king queen offsuit. Yeah, he has king queen offsuit. What do we think of this play? So pre-flop, this hand is a mix between 3-bet and call. So he 3-bet this time, fine. I don't know his strategy on the flop, but you know, checking sometimes is fine. And on the turn, I mean, he's basically trying to punish me for exactly what I described on the flop. He's trying to punish me for having a very capped range. But this time I happen to trap him. And then on the river though, I mean, so he rivers top pair. So obviously his hand is, you know, he has the best hand most of the time now, but he bets. This is pretty light for value, obviously. I mean, you know, I can still have deuces, I can have a flush, I can have some kind of slow play. Obviously, I don't have ace queen very often because I would not be bet calling that on the turn. It's also funny how he left like 17 big blinds behind. So I'm not going to share what I think of that, but yeah. I mean, it's an unorthodox play. So I think me and my call is pretty standard. So now we have to rate the play. I think my play is 8.5 out of 10. I mean, obviously I'm betting this hand a decent amount on the flop, but not always. But obviously, you know, it's hard. It's easy to give yourself a good grade when, you know, the reason for the flop check is that you don't get crushed on the turn, and that's exactly what he's trying to do, right? So that kind of worked out nicely. His play, 6 out of 10. I mean, it's okay. It's a bit loose, but I like the freestyle. So nice hand to both of us.